Meghan Markle will be in the UK. Guys, she can't help it. She loves the publicity. She loves the attention, and she desperately needs the opportunity to merge.
Harry and Meghan were bringing the kids for footage.
Not to mention Meghan's stability as she seizes the opportunity to exploit this newsworthy soap opera.
Today's headlines made one thing sound absolutely certain. Prince Harry is heading to London alone. But the key word here is London.
Prince Harry will travel to London alone without his wife and children.
At first, many people assumed that Meghan and the children had completely backed out of the entire UK trip. Almost every headline repeated that Meghan was not coming to London, but that is very different from saying she was not coming to Britain at all.
Kids and Meghan won't come to London. It has been very specific about London. So if you guys remember, the actual Invictus Games kickoff, some of it happens in Birmingham because the competition happens in Birmingham. One of the first engagements that were announced for Harry and Meghan were happening in Birmingham. So I think this sort of misnomer that because Meghan is not going to London, that she's not coming to the UK overall, I think is false.
Then today's reports added a surprising new twist. Meghan may not be traveling to London, but she could instead visit Princess Diana's grave, which is located far outside the capital.
Harry and Meghan were bringing the kids for footage for the secret Diana documentary. The children at her gravesite at Althorp would be gold for Netflix.
Suddenly, the phrase "Harry goes to London alone" started looking much more specific than many people first believed. It raised a new question among royal commentators. Were those headlines carefully written to attract the biggest possible reaction?
She might do a surprise visit later in the trip. We talked earlier about, they might go to Althorp, but I don't know how that's less dangerous, but there you go. That, again, to me, is just to create headlines. Either you're coming or you're not coming. By the way, love, nobody really wants you to come anyway.
Before looking at Meghan's reported plans for Althorp, there is another important detail that deserves attention. While most headlines focused almost entirely on London, several of Harry and Meghan's previously discussed engagements were expected to happen outside the capital, particularly around Birmingham. At the same time, there had been no official confirmation saying that every planned appearance outside London had been called off.
As a reminder, one of the core events that Harry and Meghan officially announced a little over a week ago on Friday was that the two of them would go to the Children's Hospital in Birmingham. Because remember, exploiting sick children in Australia seemed to work pretty well for them. So might as well expand it to Birmingham on another continent as well. And that is surely what they are going to do. We have not heard anything about that visit not going forwards.
So was everyone paying attention to the wrong word? Maybe the real focus was never Britain at all. Maybe it was always just London. Then another theory quickly started making the rounds among royal watchers. What if Meghan was never actually planning to visit the palace in the first place?
There's been too much BS. And I'm with you, Dickie. I don't think she ever meant to come here. Not at all.
Some commentators argued this was not a last-minute change at all. They suggested the original reports may have created expectations that were never meant to become reality. But why would that happen? Was it simply another publicity move? Was the real objective to keep their names dominating the headlines for as long as possible? Every new twist seemed to spark another wave of coverage. First came reports that Meghan and the children might join Harry. Then came the security concerns. Next came claims that Meghan would not travel to London. After that came fresh speculation about Princess Diana's grave. Every new update generated another headline, and every headline kept the conversation going.
Of course, there has been a hemming and hawing for about 10 days, 2 weeks now, over what should be an actual very simple story. But nothing is ever simple with Harry and Meghan. In fact, they bring toxicity and chaos wherever they go.
If Meghan does visit Princess Diana's resting place, it would not be the first time. Harry shared a very personal memory about that visit in his memoir, Spare. He wrote about taking Meghan to Althorp on the 25th anniversary of Diana's passing, describing it as finally bringing the girl of my dreams home to meet his mother. After placing flowers on the grave himself, Harry said he stepped away to give Meghan a private moment alone. When he returned, Harry wrote that Meghan was kneeling beside the grave with her eyes closed and her hands resting on the stone. As they walked away together, Harry asked what she had prayed for. According to his own account, her answer was simple: clarity and guidance. However, this time, the reported plans seemed very different.
That would be gold for Harry, for Meghan. Well, let's be honest, for Meghan. Harry would be stupid enough to believe that his wife just wants the children to connect with their grandmother. Harry, they might feel the spirit of your mother like I did, and he'd just follow along with it because it's Harry.
Harry and Meghan were reportedly hoping to bring Archie and Lilibet to Princess Diana's resting place at Althorp, giving the children a chance to visit their grandmother's grave for what would reportedly be the first time. Some commentators even suggested that such a visit could create incredibly emotional images or footage connected to Diana's legacy.
In terms of the fact that they are secretly working on these plans for the 30th anniversary, and this could be the ideal opportunity over those 2 days, quite a lengthy period of time, to film something, to create some type of imagery, to take some photos for whatever becomes the 30th anniversary project next year.
Critics questioned whether a visit like that could truly stay private, especially after years of documentaries, interviews, memoirs, public appearances, and well-timed media stories. In their view, a visit involving Diana, Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet would not simply be a quiet family moment. It could become one of the most talked about royal images imaginable.
It's a whole big PR exercise. If you're going to visit your deceased mother-in-law's grave, you don't announce it.
No.
You go. You go with respect and with dignity. Unfortunately, there is no such word as dignity in that family, and that's the problem of it all.
Some royal commentators even wondered whether photos or video from Althorp could eventually appear in a future project. The combination was hard to ignore: Diana's legacy, her grandchildren, Harry's emotional connection to his mother, and the Sussexes' long history of sharing deeply personal moments through public storytelling.
I personally do not trust Harry and Meghan, and when they have put out statements saying, of course we're not working on a Diana documentary, I personally do not believe them. They are both very obsessed with Diana. Harry has taken ownership over Diana's memory. Meghan likes to dress like Diana. It's not once or twice, it's been continuously. It's not just from a few years ago. Her latest thing to do with a PR company, they made me dress like Diana. Everybody said she was going to say that at some point, and there you go. No one in their right mind would have made her dress like the late Princess Diana.
Then the reports from the previous day added another surprising twist. Fresh claims alleged that the Sussex communications team had shared detailed information about the planned UK visit with selected journalists through a private group before the trip had even started.
Now, in fairness, Richard Eden is one of the few people within the British mainstream media who didn't fall for their lies, and he's now blowing the whistle on this secret WhatsApp group chat.
If those claims are accurate, they raise an obvious question. Why would details about the family's movements be shared while Harry was also arguing that publicity surrounding those movements increased security concerns? That question became even bigger once the speculation about Diana's grave entered the picture. If the visit was supposed to remain private, why were so many details already circulating?
Last Friday, Eden writes, they all received a long message confirming details of Prince Harry and Meghan's return visit to Britain. It wasn't just the type of short message they sometimes receive, but a long operational note detailing exactly what the couple would be doing after they landed in the country.
If the children were only expected to visit for personal family reasons, why did the story become public before anything had even happened? Critics began asking whether the selected briefings, media updates, and steady flow of new information pointed to a much broader publicity strategy surrounding the trip. For critics, the possible Althorp visit and the alleged journalist briefings followed a pattern they believe has repeated for years. Harry speaks about privacy. Harry speaks about safety. Harry speaks about wanting his family protected, yet reports about where they may stay, who they may meet, and where they may travel continue finding their way into the headlines.
It's all stage managed. Harry's going on about security. He's saying the UK is dangerous. Well, if it's dangerous, you don't announce your plans in the first place.
Critics argue that this contradiction has become one of the biggest talking points surrounding the Sussexes. They criticize the attention, yet detailed stories about their plans often surface with striking timing. Next year will also mark the 30th anniversary of Princess Diana's passing, a milestone that is almost certain to attract worldwide attention. Because of that, some commentators believe Harry may once again place his mother's legacy at the center of a future public project.
I think that they would do something like that. And it's also Netflix are hanging on to them. They're throwing them little tidbits and bones. I don't think Netflix are hanging around for Carly Fortune's book. I don't think Netflix are hanging around because they might buy some sort of war film that Harry and Meghan are producing. Would they hang around for footage of Lily and Archie at Althorp? Like, at Diana's gravesite, photographs? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
According to that theory, a visit to Althorp would mean far more than just a private family moment. Introducing Archie and Lilibet to Princess Diana's resting place could create an emotional story that might later become part of a much bigger narrative about Harry's bond with his mother. Whether that story would ever appear in a documentary, an interview, a special anniversary project, or another public feature remains entirely speculative.
So now he's looking for something to do. They burnt their bridges in the United States. People have seen them for what they are. They're not making money anymore. They need to make money to pay for their lifestyle. How they're going to do this is anybody's guess. The closer they can get to the British royals, to the family, the more the Americans will say, yeah, well, they're still close to the family. We can still use them.
A big part of the conversation also focused on Netflix. Ever since Harry and Meghan signed their production deal, almost every major appearance has sparked questions about what could eventually end up on screen. Critics remember the Netflix series. They remember the home videos. They remember private family moments becoming part of a public production. So, when reports suggested Diana's grandchildren might visit her grave during such a closely watched UK trip, speculation about a future documentary spread almost immediately.
Called the British royal family racist. So why is it when the jam orders dry up that what they want is to be seen, or a picture or some news about, as you said, they're still close to the royal family? I think you've nailed it, Dickie. I don't think the royal family are close to them. I think that they have made their beds, and I think that lying in it, they've suddenly realised it's not as good as they hoped it would be. And I suspect that the entire royal family has massive reservations, because whenever they come, or whenever there's a meeting, it's released to the press. There's always somebody on behalf of them.
Then another detail grabbed even more attention. Althorp itself! Reports pointed out that the estate was scheduled to close to the public for 2 days during the same period Harry and Meghan were originally expected to be in Britain.
Althorp, the stately home where Princess Diana grew up, is to be closed to the public for 2 days while Prince Harry and Meghan are in the country with Archie and Lily. This is highly unusual.
Since Althorp is only open to visitors for a short time each summer, mainly during July and August, that temporary closure quickly became another talking point among royal watchers.
Now, when Annie Granny said there is no way on God's green earth Charles Spencer will allow any filming at his sister's grave, they keep it covered year-round because of drones trying to get a pic, not a single chance, and if they sneaked it, he would go absolutely ballistic. According to Taz replied, "The Queen didn't think they'd film inside palace grounds, but they did. Even her childhood tea house."
While all of that was unfolding, Harry's long-running security argument remained right at the center of the discussion. For years, he has insisted that the biggest reason he cannot comfortably bring his family back to Britain is security. Not money, not titles, not royal status, security.
His people release he's under threat from at least 6 plots in the UK.
Very important. He's a very important person.
And Dan Wooden he responded like, "This is the most ridiculous, artificial, made-up document. It comes from Harry's office." It's like someone's been searching their emails to find like "I'll get you."
He has argued that the risks linked to his public profile, military service, and family background did not disappear after stepping away from royal duties, making continued protection essential.
A guy living 8,000 miles away on the coast of California, the west coast of California, who doesn't do any royal duties, and his wannabe Hollywood actress wife, Meghan, they're not good. But why on earth should British taxpayers pay for them? He should give this up. And today, as we're filming this, we learned that he's just spent even more money to get some company, a security firm, to come up with a report to warn the government that if he comes to when he comes to the Invictus Games next year, he could be a target.
But critics continue raising the very same question. If the security concerns are truly that serious, why allow so much conversation about travel plans before the visit even begins? Why let people know when the family could arrive, where they might stay, or which locations they might visit? The previous reports made that question even harder to ignore.
Security, these armed cop guards he demands whenever he comes to Britain. He's never going to get it. He doesn't warrant it. Only frontline royals get that, working royals, and not all of them.
Harry reportedly became concerned after information about a possible stay at Buckingham Palace became public, fearing photographers could watch every arrival and departure. Yet around the same time, separate reports allege that the Sussex communications team had been sharing operational details with selected journalists. If both accounts are viewed together, critics argue the contradiction becomes difficult to overlook.
Because he is now accusing Buckingham Palace, wait for it, of sabotage, of wanting to him simply because they made clear he has been offered totally safe accommodation in the totally safe Buckingham Palace.
Harry warned that publicity could increase security risks, while critics claimed people connected to his own side were contributing to that publicity. That is why some commentators no longer view this as only a disagreement over security. Instead, they see it as a much deeper issue of trust. Harry appears to believe the palace, or people connected to the royal system, cannot fully protect his family's privacy or safety. At the same time, others argue the palace may have concerns of its own.
The dim Duke is convinced that the sovereign's sinister servants are somehow laying a trap for him, luring his unsuspecting American family into danger with an invitation to stay at newly refurbished Buckingham Palace during their planned 5-day visit.
After Oprah, Netflix, Spare, multiple interviews, and repeated media briefings, some commentators question whether senior royals would feel confident that private family moments could truly remain private. That question continues hanging over every possible reunion. The offer of a royal residence became another example of just how much trust appears to have broken down.
It is madness. There is no plot within the British royal family to Prince Harry to try and make him unsafe. The whole reason that the offer to Buckingham Palace was made was to try and keep him safe. Seriously, this is so concerning. I think the offer should be withdrawn. I think Harry needs to seek help, and I actually don't believe that this trip is good for anyone now.
Reports claimed King Charles had offered Harry and Meghan accommodation inside a royal property, which, at least on paper, could have eased some of the security concerns. Staying inside a protected royal residence would have been very different from using a hotel or private rental. It looked like a possible compromise. Instead, it quickly became another source of disagreement. Harry reportedly believed that once the children became part of the visit and the king offered them a place to stay, stronger security would naturally follow. But Britain's system does not work that way.
Guarantee you she will show up next week in a public forum in one way or another, because I don't think Meghan even truly believes any of the quote-unquote security issues that her and Harry believe that they have. I think it's mostly Harry's delusions driving that. Meghan Markle wants to be seen. She wants to be front and center in the public side. She wants people to think of her as great as Catherine, and she can't do that if she is just still sitting there in Portugal in their copycat house of Soho House.
Decisions about security are handled through official government processes and individual risk assessments, not by King Charles himself. The monarch cannot simply approve whatever level of protection Harry wants. Many commentators believe that misunderstanding has become one of the biggest sticking points in this entire story.
He can't accept he's not a royal anymore. You know, they made that agreement with the Queen and everything, and they're still using the title. So, you know, he's got to get over it, but he never will he? You know
it doesn't look like it, doesn't it?
Here's the problem. You're using taxpayer money, Harry, in order to then make profit off you and Meghan's brand. What they're actually doing here is a business trip.
Harry continues speaking about reconciliation with his father, yet the biggest disagreement keeps coming back to a security issue that the king does not directly control. He says he wants to rebuild bridges, but every new interview, report, or fresh allegation seems to create even more distance. The more Harry talks about moving forward, the more the conversation shifts toward mistrust, media leaks, and growing tensions.
And everybody's talking about reconciliation, Harry reconciling with his father, his father seeing the grandchildren. Let's not forget Thomas Markle. Thomas Markle hasn't seen his grandchildren at all, although the king did in 2022, and he's never met his son-in-law. So, is reconciliation on both sides. Let's not just make it one-sided.
Meghan's side of the story has also sparked another debate. While Harry's public message has focused heavily on privacy and security, Meghan's public profile has continued expanding in a different direction. New products, new social media posts, new promotional campaigns.
Not to mention Meghan's stability as she seizes the opportunity to exploit this newsworthy soap opera.
Reports even suggested she had considered bringing gifts connected to her lifestyle brand for King Charles as a personal peace offering. Critics quickly questioned whether it was simply a thoughtful gesture or whether it also carried an obvious public relations benefit.
Royal-style gift. Oh, piss off. Piss off with your gross lavender honey that no one's buying. But in all seriousness, this farce has to end. I just repeat that point because what is happening is that the king and the British royal family are about to be embarrassed.
That is why many commentators believe this trip looked less like a quiet family reunion and more like a chance for a fresh public reset. After months of business challenges, changing headlines, and renewed public scrutiny, a high-profile return to Britain would almost certainly dominate international news.
God, what am I going to do? I'm going to sneak some was never into my bag and give it to the king, and I'm going to launch this new lavender honey. I mean, it's gross.
If my dad was ill, I would come and see my dad without making a big fuss about it. He's making a big fuss about it because it's their oxygen. That's the truth.
It would place Harry and Meghan back at the center of the royal conversation and reconnect them with the monarchy in the public eye. Another question continues following almost every Sussex visit, and it is surprisingly straightforward. Why has Meghan stayed away from Britain for so long? Harry has returned to the UK several times for court cases, charity events, family matters, and appearances connected to Invictus. Meghan, however, has largely remained in California.
The biggest threat that Harry has really is the woman that he is in his home. I mean, Meghan is the one that needs all this attention. She needs to be the one who looks aligned with the royal family. They should never have announced this. This should have never even been out into the mainstream. We've seen Harry travel before. We've never known how he got there until he was actually there.
Her last major public visit to Britain was in 2022, and since then, nearly every rumored return has sparked huge speculation, only for Harry to arrive on his own once again. That pattern has also fueled a much wider discussion about their relationship and their public image. A few years ago, Harry and Meghan were rarely seen apart. Major interviews, charity visits, international tours, award ceremonies. They presented themselves as one united team. Their public image was built around the idea that they were stronger together, facing the same challenges and working toward the same future.
That has developed into a pattern of them separately and together creating chaos for themselves and others, then reveling in it and being brought close by their misbehavior and betrayals of the royal family. Radar claims that Harry and Meghan are drifting apart due to his desire to get back to the UK and reunite with the royal family. I personally think he desperately misses being liked and realizes that doesn't happen very often when he stands next to the missus.
But that picture has clearly changed. Over the past 2 years, solo appearances have become much more common. Harry has traveled to Britain alone several times. He has attended court hearings by himself. He has represented Invictus without Meghan on multiple occasions. Meanwhile, Meghan has spent more time focusing on her own business ventures, media projects, and public appearances in California.
Pursuing separate projects, which sources claim are highlighting their differences and showing what dramatically separate lives they are leading.
There is no public confirmation that their marriage is in trouble, and Harry has previously pushed back against divorce rumors. Even so, the speculation continues because the public image has shifted. A few years ago, people expected Meghan to stand beside Harry during every major moment. Now, many expect him to arrive alone. Whether that is a strategic decision, changing priorities, or something more personal remains unknown, but it no longer reflects the Harry and Meghan image people became used to.
A new report says Prince Harry and Meghan Markle don't really like anything about each other.
Beyond the headlines, there is also a very human side to this story. King Charles is not only the monarch, he is also a grandfather. Reports have repeatedly suggested he hopes to maintain some kind of relationship with Archie and Lilibet.
It's completely understandable that King Charles wants a relationship with his grandchildren. People coming on and saying, oh, why would Charles want a relationship with his grandchildren? Like, you can't put words in Charles's mouth. I'm like, we've heard this reported quite frequently, but also he is a human being. I feel like within all this Harry and Meghan drama, and of course this is because of the toxicity, because of the chaos, people sometimes miss out on the fact that we're dealing with human beings.
If the children had returned to Britain, it could have become one of the family's biggest moments in years, especially since the king's opportunities to spend time with them have reportedly been so limited. Yet even that emotional possibility became surrounded by politics, security concerns, and endless media attention.
And if this visit works, in one way or another, I don't know what crazy metric the Sussex team is using, but if one of their metrics in this particular situation works, then they have a blueprint to do more.
What could have been a simple reunion between a grandfather and his grandchildren quickly turned into debates about royal residences, police protection, media briefings, Princess Diana's grave, Netflix speculation, and questions about whether the Sussexes were trying to refresh their public image. That seems to be the pattern with almost every Sussex story. The personal moment often disappears beneath the controversy surrounding it.
Don't announce everything in the first place. It's fodder for the tabloid newspapers. It's fodder for those people who might want to do you any harm, might want to do your children harm. Just keep stum. You were trained to do that in the army. Do it in civilian life.
So in the end, this story is not just about whether Meghan travels to London. It is about the wording, the timing, the briefings, the disagreements, the connections. It is about how a single trip turned into another major royal drama before anyone had even stepped onto a plane. Maybe Meghan never planned to visit London in the first place. Maybe the focus was always somewhere else. Maybe the Althorp speculation will lead nowhere. Maybe Harry's security concerns are exactly as he has described them. But after years of interviews, documentaries, carefully timed reports, and public disputes, many royal watchers say they no longer accept these stories at face value. Instead, they look for the bigger strategy behind every headline. This time, the headline sounded simple: Harry goes to London alone! But the bigger questions remained. Was Meghan really staying away from Britain, or only staying away from London? Was the speculation surrounding Princess Diana's grave simply about a private family visit, or part of a much larger media narrative? And if privacy was truly the goal, why did this trip become one of the biggest royal stories of the week? Let me know what you think in the comments. That is exactly why this debate refuses to fade away. Every new Sussex update seems to raise even more questions than it answers. Subscribe to Hollywood Yesterday for the latest royal news and updates every single day.